Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a little bit after 5:30. Want to welcome you all to our May version of the Business Resource Series. It's a little different than it's been in the past. Thank you all for joining us, though. And we were talking earlier, it's kind of an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. I want to thank Robin and Lee, and I know there was a third, Spencer, for joining us tonight, three of our city council. We're really happy to have you here and to hear some of the ideas that Shawnette and Anne-Marie have for us, and also to hear some of the things that our merchants want to talk about and have questions. So our speakers, I think most of you know Anne-Marie Luthrow and Shawnette Corkle from Front Door Back. They've been up to Gig Harbor, is it 4 times?
At least.
At least 4 times.
Not including Girls' Night Out. That's
right. Oh, that's right. You came to
and then just random getting our fill of Mary stops.
So they have done some wonderful work for our businesses downtown, and you all know they're very creative. So without any further ado, I'm going to just turn it over to Shawnette, and let's learn a lot.
Yeah. So we're not sure how your COVID at home experience has been, but we took some pictures walking around the neighborhood. So we've got, just so you know, for the record, those are not my bottles, but
these are different ways that people are dealing with COVID in their Zen-like ways, with chalk and rocks and with booze.
Yeah. So what we're going to cover today, there's just this fire hose of information coming at us with changing in shopper behaviors, changing in regulations, changing in our habits, and so many different directions that we could go down. We ended up having 2 giant buckets, big picture stuff, and then store specific. So big picture stuff, let's go there. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, so I think we all know, we all feel, but everything that we've been reading and seeing and feeling is that there is a pervasive feeling of anxiety out there. And anxiety because this is all new to us. It's all new and different. And the reason that that's important is because they're bringing that anxiety into downtown. They're bringing it into the shops. So one of the ways that we can speak to the anxiety is to demonstrate what we can control, and that is keeping everything clean and safe. And there is an expectation of that, of being clean and safe, and more than just clean, sanitary. So in that expectation of being clean and safe, we suggest that you be theatrical about your cleanliness, that you leave a bottle of Clorox wipes out for people to see, and that you be conspicuous about your safety, that you walk the walk. If you want people to wear masks in your store, then you wear masks in your store. If you want people to keep 6 feet distance from you, then you mark it on your floor. So we think theatrical shows of cleanliness and sanitary issues and safety will help quell some of that anxiety, because really you have to meet the customer where they are. You have to meet them where they are figuratively, and that's a little bit confused and a little bit, not sure about how to shop you, how to deal with you. Mm-hmm. And then you need to meet them where they are literally, where they are right now is that they are primarily online. So we're going to talk a lot about, we're going to touch on the fact about how you have to be online to meet your customer there, where they're looking for you and where you can go to look for them. Something that's happening, and this won't be forever, but right now we're seeing it, is that there's a lot of mission shopping. So we've been asked not to go out for anything but essential reasons. That means that it's a mission shopping trip. I have to go get milk because I'm out of it. And the mission shopping trip means that the time in store is a little bit less, be a little bit shorter time that they're spending in your store. And right now that's probably a good thing to get people just dip their feet in the pool of how they're going to shop for the next few months or for foreseeable future. They're not shopping for entertainment. They're probably not browsing so much. They're coming to your store looking for a thing. So some of that shopping behavior when they're mission shopping, we talk about the look, the touch, the try, the pickup, the check price, get information. Some of that is changing. We're trying to discourage people from touching and picking up. So we're trying to encourage people to shop with their eyes as much as possible. And we're going to suggest that you even put a sign up that suggests that. But when you're mission shopping, one of the things that the stores can do to accommodate mission shopping is this concept of access versus excess. Give me access to the core products. Mm-hmm. What is the key thing that I'm coming into your store for? You probably know what your profit center is. Make sure that there is plenty of access to that by clearing out the excess. So it might mean removing a fixture. It might mean pulling some products off of a fixture. But that's all to accommodate this mission shopping. And another big, and that also, that access versus excess also means that that's a helpful way to start accommodating for that 6 foot difference. So make sure that they have access and that they have that 6 foot berth around them to get to the products. Yeah. Another big pervasive thing that we're seeing is new, not necessarily new, but the way that shoppers are fulfilling their product, their wishes. So the fulfillment issues are really coming to the forefront. The whole COVID thing has really exacerbating the trend that is out there, which is shopping online. Okay, we all know that that's the nemesis right now, and this is really exacerbating it. So people who never thought they would shop online before might have dipped their toe in the pool of shopping online by now. And, you know, it can be a lot easier for people. And so we want to make sure that we take care of that right now, but we want to remind them that the fun and the juicy is in the store. But with that shopping online, they have learned that they can get delivery. Well, they can also get delivery from Main Street. We're going to talk about maybe some ways that you could do that.
We can play in that too.
The buy online, pick up in store, it's called BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store, is a very real thing. It's becoming more and more prominent during COVID. Delivery, curbside. So these fulfillment methods, now that we've given people a taste of them and how convenient they can be, they're probably not going to go away. They're probably here to stay. Another big picture issue for retail is that signage will explode. So, you know, Shawnette and I we don't love a lot of signage. We want you to show us what you're talking about, not tell us. We want you to show versus tell. Yeah. But you need signage right now, and you need to recognize that the signage is urgent. So we understand that. We usually say tape is a 4-letter word. We don't want you to tape any signs up anywhere, but we get it that things are different right now and you might have to use some tape. But with signage, we want you to remember that remember the scale of the size of the sign, that you need it to be big enough to speak to the person where they are. Are they at the curb? Are they on the sidewalk? If they're in the store, if it's something about paying, you know, do I have to be at the cash wrap to be able to see the sign? So make sure that the scale is appropriate. Make sure that your font choice is clean and clear. So while it is a time, you can inflect brand in your signage and personality, but try to keep it clean and clear. No fancy cursive font. Just something that's really, again, back to the access versus excess. Make sure I can see it clearly and know what to follow through. So there's scale and font choice, and then the positioning is really important in signage, and of course the content. But if it's not big enough and it's not in the right place, it doesn't matter what you wrote on it, okay? So it has to be big enough and put in the right place, and then you have to decide what the right content is. And then concierge service. This is something else that's come out of this. Everybody has learned how to bend over backwards to accommodate their shoppers. Whether that means, you know, if Sharon, you're on my screen right now, so I'm just going to use Sharon's as an example. If Sharon has a customer, you know, normally she might not pull 6 outfits and drop them on somebody's porch and let them shop at home. But that might be a concierge service that right now we have to go over and above to make sure that we are servicing the shoppers, because we want them to remember the great service that they got during this time is just an example of the service they're going to get after this, when we go back to quote unquote normal times. So the concierge service is a big deal. And then a couple of things that aren't on here, but that Shawnette and I feel really strongly about, and it crosses every store that you go into or every service that you go into. And that is what I'm trying to practice right now, really good diction. So we are suggesting that you talk to everyone, like, because you have a mask on, that you talk to everyone like they're a little bit hard of hearing, and maybe English is their second language. So you slow it down a little bit and you make it a little more clear. The other thing that we think is really important and that we're seeing a lot of, and I hope we keep it up, is saying thank you. Thanking customers for stepping out of their comfort zone and coming to the store, whether they came to your curb, to your window, or it's time that they got to come in the store. Thank you goes a long way. So those are some big things that sort of cast shade on everything that we talk about, remembering that everybody's a little bit anxious and they're expecting things of you. So you have to go out and meet them where they are and make it easy for them to buy from you, to shop and to buy from you.
Mm. And we'll touch on too that in this explosion of signage and rules and habits that we'll point out when we see in some of these examples some good signage best practices. Yeah. And how that can help us move from everything's urgent and I have to read it all to learning like, oh, that's that kind of signage that I just have to stand there versus policy signage. So when we learn signage best practices, we start helping our shoppers understand what the new routines are, and they can get back to looking at other more new information versus all these rules all the time. So
we broke the rest of the deck into 3 pieces: the before the store, at the store, and in the store. Yeah. And Shawnette is primarily going to go through all this, and I'm her backup. So if we have a note here that she forgot to bring up, then I'll chime in. Yeah. But we're going to start with before the store. What needs to happen before they even get to you?
Yeah. In the theme where we talked about right now, we have to meet customers where they are psychologically as well as physically. And right now, when they're not in your store, they're online. So you've got to be online, and being online for everybody could mean you're managing 5 different platforms, or you're just managing one and you've got Facebook. But we're finding even now as we're trying to go out and shop, even to order dinner out on Friday, our family picks, all right, who we're going to order from in town, and where can we find their phone number? Is it correct? We've called phone numbers and nobody's answered, or we've texted them and it's been 30 minutes before they've gotten back to us. Even though we're very motivated, it's been very difficult. So I just keep thinking, you've got to make sure everything's consistent. So when they're coming to you, make sure you can find your phone number, your address, and your hours of operation. And then they still might call just in case, because we're still not sure, are you really open? Because sometimes Facebook might say one thing versus something else, or Google Places might not be caught up. But you've got to manage this information that's going out to shoppers with the same urgency with which you printed a sign and taped it on the front door and said temporarily closed, until phase 1 or phase 2. So have that sense of urgency and that sense of thoroughness, that anywhere somebody can find you, that you've got information. And that's when shoppers are coming to you. On the flip side, being online means you also need to meet them where they are, and you've got to reach out to them. And I put an example up here, and I've got to scoop my pictures out of the way so we can see this. All right, so I can see it. So I got an email from a retailer in Forest Grove, and I wanted to break down what I thought was great about it. One, she had a customer list that she had been managing over a number of years. If you don't have a strong customer database, yesterday was a great time to have it. Today is the very next best day to start one. And that means you can reach out to people. And what she did here through Constant Contact was, 1, it was positive. Can't wait to see you. Number 2, she created a link so those that do know her can go right back and start shopping if they would like. Of course, it's branded. She communicates and reinforces, we are going to have modified hours. if they change, here's where you can find that information on Facebook. There's a date specifically in terms of when the new hours are going to go into effect. So she really tells you exactly how it's going to work, kind of 1, 2, 3. We've got to break it down to its simplest steps. And then she also sets expectations in terms of not only what she's doing, but what she's expecting you to do as the shopper. She's practicing and having in place all the PPE and safety and sanitary protocols, and she's expecting you, and she's putting it out here for reference for you to see as well, so that there's no misunderstanding about what our roles are in this new shopping environment. And then the last thing is, since she's got your attention, what a great time to promote a product. But she didn't lead with it. That came at the end. That was the dessert after the end of the main meal, and it's pertinent to something that I'm going to need right now as a shopper, and it hits my buttons in terms of a price point, and it's useful, and it's got some sanitary aspects to it. So I thought it was a wonderful outreach on her part. It's proactive, and it is far enough in advance that I am marking on my calendar, oh, that's coming up on the 18th, and I got this just a couple days ago. So it's not lost in things that come in the night before. So she timed it right, and she structured it very well. Another example of reaching out and promoting yourself is a retailer that Anne Marie and I are big fans of in Multnomah Village, and we think they do most everything right. So we've got a few examples from JP General here. With their permission, we're sharing it. They've got a strong brand. This is their Instagram page. So within all their product groupings, they, as a Main Street retailer, people look to us for inspiration and curation and experience, and they communicate that in their Instagram. And within that, they are sprinkling information about how you can shop them, because we've got to, as retailers, feed step 1, step 2, step 3. Here's how you come to me, and here's how we're going to interact. When they have text, it's usually on top of the blue, and they show, when they say, go ahead and call us, they show a phone. So they're communicating, not only showing, but telling. They have their phone number in every piece of information. Let me go back to this and figure out where the back button is here. But maybe that one doesn't have the phone number in it, but it's got a way to get a hold of them. So they always leave some way to be able to connect with them. And I just thought it was really well done in not only a tell versus a show. So they've combined both. So at the store, we're still not.
So hold on 1 second, Shawnette.
Yes, go ahead.
You were just going to do a quick recap of what we said. It's really important to be online, period. It's important to be online to let people know that you're open and let them know how you're open. It's important to make sure that you have consistency in your the phone numbers and the websites where they can contact you, and that it's on every piece of email or website or Google page, on everything that you have, on every Instagram, that they know how to get a hold of you, and that you indeed are responsive to all of those things.
Yeah. Who's in charge of responding to DMs in Instagram? Who's in charge of responding to texts at the store? Who's in charge of actually answering a landline? Who's doing Facebook Messenger? It can be a lot for a store owner to manage that, but we use all platforms all the time. So divide and conquer.
Right. And what we really loved about, one of the things about JP General that we're showing you, is that they really set expectations. You'll see that as we go along, but they set expectations of how to shop them. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Go team. Let's wrap this up. Let's recap, and it's good. So you're at the store, and the first thing that we want to emphasize is that we don't need to look like we've gone out of business. We can not be open, but we don't need to look like it is we're expecting a riot or there's doom and gloom. That it is now. I don't think plywood applies to Gig Harbor, but there are retailers here in Vancouver that papered over their windows but didn't put a message on the other side of that paper, or people that pulled their blinds shut, and they had some beautiful window displays, but they closed it all off. And there's a balance between some security concerns versus understanding the message that you're sending about when you absolutely just close off that dialogue. And in Seattle, the artists responded to that blank canvas and added some art to that. And even over here on the far right, people love dialogue and interaction, and you've got a blank canvas. And I love the fact that somebody started a tic-tac-toe over there, because we look for engagement as humans and we don't like to be blocked. But even though, so rule number one at the store is you're temporarily closed, but we don't need to look like we've gone out of business. It's just, it's a transition. We hope that during this downtime that you had an opportunity to clean, repair, replace, reset things in the store. I know I ended up doing the Marie Kondo on my linen closet, and I cleaned out a couple cupboards in there. And I know Goodwill's going to have lines of cars because everybody's been doing some nesting and some cleaning, and we could have, hopefully we have used that time well in a retail setting too, to clean house a little bit after we've handled all of our other paperwork as small businesses. And we can look alive. We don't have to look closed being boarded up. So making sure that your lights are still on tells people that there's still a heartbeat that's happening on Main Street, even though you can't walk in the door. And in terms of infrastructure, do you have lights that can be on? Do you have good window display lighting? Do you have the right lights inside the store? Even in the daytime, you can't open the door, but maybe you're in the back processing orders. Can you turn the lights on and just have a nice message on the door, but let people know there's still life, you're still breathing, you can't walk in. And even though I think right now, windows are as important as they've ever been, if not more, because windows being the bellwether in terms of the health of a district, we can forgive somebody that has needs a paint job and they should have light on their sign, and maybe the sign's a little bit out of date. But if that window's current and healthy, we're still going to think it's valid, and we need to look at a bare minimum changing our windows out on a monthly basis. We don't want people coming back into downtown and seeing there's a leftover Valentine's Day display. Show that you're ready and that you're current. It doesn't mean, even though they're coming in less often, it doesn't mean they're driving by any less often.
Yeah, and we know Gig Harbor has a ton of walkers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who knew there was a COVID or a pandemic going on? So I've been told. This is a great example of JP General. This is the outside of their store. While the door is locked, they put their sandwich board outside when they're in processing orders in the back, and it just shows somebody's home. And I actually really like the little reader board there for them to put some sort of topical message and communicate with that. And they've got just a simple sign on the door. That's their current window display for spring.
So another thing that they did with their window display, treated the door as another window, as a third window. Mm-hmm. And they were very proactive in really circulating products up to the front of the store. Yeah. So almost every day, if not every other day, they would have a different assortment for the window shoppers. So they would have people peeking in the front door to see what's going on in there. Are they going to close? Are they going to go under? And instead, what you would see when you peeked in the door was a display of product, a different display every day.
Yeah. And it's separate from the window display. So might as well use that third window. Yeah. Know that because we, just knowing how our sense of safety and security is found outside with fresh air and distance versus inside closed environments. Do you remember us talking about the analogy of if your district is a store and if the sidewalks and the streets were the aisles and the buildings were the fixtures, you guys are the product hanging on the fixtures. Well, guess what? Your district is the store now, and commerce is coming outside. And while we look at being able to provide additional space in the public sphere for dining, at the store in this journey to your front door, the sidewalks and the messaging that happens there are the new, this is the new store. So you want to keep it positive and realize that these are places that you can, that we're going to start communicating with one another. That's why windows are important. and just acknowledging that there's a journey. People are looking at everything on the way. This also brings up a point in terms of when we begin to let people in and how we're queuing. If you're going to have by appointment only, in terms of managing who comes in your store based upon the space, somebody will probably likely be waiting outside. And if they're waiting outside, what are they looking at? We thought this was a great little example of a farmer's market store. And at that point where they can engage with you, stand here, they personalized it. They put a little B versus just a little, instead of painter's tape or duct tape on there. And because there are these new signs and these are going to stick around for a while, and when we can move beyond just the bare bones basic function of throwing some tape on the ground to thinking about how to personalize it and just make it a little bit less institutional and clinical versus on brand and fun for you, just to bring you back into the mix versus you have to, might as well make it fun. This was an example of larger retail. McDonald's took that idea in terms of customizing the bee, and they actually made their places where you stand and wait the burger tops with little
hamburger bun
seeds on. So these outdoor decals are the top of the buns, spaced 6 feet apart. There's, I was watching a video the other day on a Facebook group where the retailer, it was an ice cream store that they were set back from the street. I think they were out in Kansas or Nebraska, so they have a pretty big lawn to work with. And they actually spray painted on the grass a Candyland game. And the places that you stopped, obviously were 6 feet apart, and there were rainbow flags at the beginning, and they made the whole process of waiting to get to the front to order your ice cream fun. And those are the areas that we're looking for to inject a rule that we have to do, but to imbue a little bit more personality in that. All right, let me go forward, not backwards. So this is a Joann's fabric store. And while shoppers are queuing, what are they looking at? It could be your window or it could be your neighbor's window. So we want to give them something to talk about. That's the power. This is the biggest piece of your real estate, and this is the power of that part of your storefront. And yes, this is taped up, but I think it's a relevant, urgent message. And knowing that we have people that are on a mission, and that this is kind of the TSA mentality. You're waiting and you're waiting, and as soon as it's your turn, hurry up. You don't want to hold anybody up. Get your belt back on, put your shoes on quick, and then get out of there. So once you finally get let into Joann's, get your stuff and get out. And they are helping me accomplish my mission by telling me, all right, first of all, if you're coming here for these things, we don't have them. So I'm just going to have to go, all right, I'm not going to look for them. I'm not going to bother anybody. I'm going to go to the next thing on my list. So I found that this was very useful information.
They knew what the mission was. The mission was making masks, and they knew that mission. And I think one of the things we wanted to say on the slide prior is that one of the reasons that we want to use these windows is because this is a long line. And that takes a long time. We heard somebody say they waited 45 minutes the other day to get into a store. So activating these windows really helps with the perceived wait time. So you don't want them to you don't want them to get irritated and frustrated while they're waiting outside. And people are showing a lot of forgiveness right now because things are so new and different. But wait time is something that people get really blown out of proportion. So anything that you can do to take care of that perceived wait time is helpful.
Yeah. If I can go forward, not backwards here. Penzer Spice, as I was, our family went to pick up some food from a restaurant. This was their neighbors. So they knew that while we were outside waiting, they had a captive audience. And I thought it was proactive of them to promote to me, who would be waiting there, how I can, what I can do, what I can buy. And they had some other really great little window displays there too. So they brought the messaging forward to where I was going to be seeing it. Anne Marie, anything else on that one?
Just that they did a great job of providing 2 ways to access you, online and with a phone number, and that they mentioned that shipping is free, so you can assume that the products are going to be shipped to you.
Yeah. The next few slides are just some, we thought great Main Street examples of relevant windows, looking for bears and then some rainbows, and it shows participation because there's also been the trend where people put bears in their windows in residential districts for kids to see and find when they're out walking, kind of a comforting thing. And here's another one, rainbows and hearts, and a sense of we'll get through it, look on the other side. Message that can be read by an audience that's driving by in a car. Product and positivity, both in that same window.
So in the windows, we're seeing information, promotion, support of the community, play, interaction, and solidarity.
Yeah. Thank you. And at the store, oh, I went too far. I'll tell you about that in a sec. Since we're inviting them to the curb, we're meeting them where they're comfortable, where we're allowed to right now, actually. And once the stores are allowed to be open, people still might only be comfortable meeting you at the curb. And it really is a convenient way to accomplish your mission and get home. So this is something that retailers and district can partner and have a discussion on and decide that if there are going to be numerous curbside pickup zones, is there going to be one per retailer? That could be kind of cumbersome if every retailer has a pickup zone. Should the district have several designated pickup zones that are convenient for several stores, but there's not one in front of every store, because space is still a finite thing, and we need to think about how, since we're merchandising and conducting commerce outside, you're going to have merchandise staged outside, you're going to have customers staged outside. You're going to be doing curbside pickup. Maybe you're going to have eating outside. So we still have to be cognizant of not overcommitting things to curbside pickup. And with curbside pickup, and if it's designated zones within the district, I think coming up with an overarching brand that perhaps the city or the downtown district could say, all right, we're going to identify with a signage campaign what our zones look like, so that when I as a shopper come to the downtown, I understand, oh, there's a pickup zone, there's a pickup zone, there's another pickup zone, and you're training me with the color and a large, simple, this is the pickup area where I can look, and then I can get on to the next most important piece of information. I've got zones figured out, and you've provided an easy way for me to understand that. So that could be a point of partnering between the retailers and the downtown organization and the city, thinking about how you're managing your space there.
It's also, I mean, even for at Dalai Lama and at Sharon's, or Dalai Mama, sorry, Lama. Sorry about that. Even though it seems so obvious because you guys have parking lots. It seems like you might not need a sign, but you're reinforcing that people are looking to be told what to do and where to go. And you're reinforcing that. You're answering the call.
Mm-hmm. That everybody is, that the downtown's engaged in accommodating all the fulfillment needs that shoppers are looking for. And that is the pickup at the store, and that's the curbside aspect of it until they feel comfortable inside. So it's this continuity that breeds familiarity that helps us with our wayfinding, that just eases our transition to navigating a whole new downtown reality. This next one is just something City of Vancouver was, I'm not saying they were going to do it, but they said, how could we do it cheaply? And as opposed to just taping a piece of paper on a barricade, we're looking at saying, what could we do to dress something up that could be carried around and mobile and packed flat? So this was us in the process of brainstorming. We've got a big design bender it's going to happen Wednesday and Thursday, Friday of this week, as we figure out what our zones are going to look like down here in Vancouver. Forward. All right, so we're back at JP General. Let's see, summary of at the store.
Recap of at the store. So we're using windows and lights, and primarily to show that we're open, we're healthy, we're fine, we're good.
Yep.
Sidewalks are a new way to express brand and personality.
Yep.
The curb has never been so important before. And we're using windows to inform, promote, support, play, and shows of solidarity. Outside is the new safe zone.
Mm-hmm. And coming inside, I will learn to drive forward, not backwards here.
In the store.
In the store, exactly. So we're coming in, and we need to understand how we're using the space and how people have used the space. I think most of you listening in understand. You've learned the term in terms of decompression zone, point of recognition, the soft right, and how people navigate merchandising front to back. When we're walking in, and because we're afraid, you know, we're highly conscious of our physical touch points. Where I used to be excited about saying, get a custom door pull, and when I grab hold of that door pull and I pull it open, I'm going to be so excited to come inside your door, and I don't necessarily want to touch that door anymore. So can you open the door for me? Okay, we can accommodate that. Let's get the door open for you. And if you're going to prop the door open, and we've seen a lot of rocks on main streets nationally, but these guys made the rock their rock by painting it blue. Loved it. We've seen wrought iron, really heavy little Scotty Terriers, and we've seen bullhorns, we've seen chairs. Another point to personalize there, but accommodate, if you can, to go ahead and open the door and invite people to walk in, assuming that you're not metering. Maybe you have staff out there too. I'm going to pull back a little bit on that, say if you need to meter entrance by appointment only and whatnot. But the intent is here to accommodate a need not to touch. And then the decompression zone is where we walk in, we're putting our glasses on, taking our glasses off, we're putting our phone away, we've adjusted to the new environment, and then we stop and go, okay, now we're gonna sanitize. And I think just outside that decompression zone is where the sanitizing station should be, versus right absolutely by the front door, because you need to get people in and then let them approach this, versus having them walk by and go, oh, I just missed it, I've got to go back. So right at that point of recognition is a perfect spot to put the station and the signage. And what I like about this signage is that the most important information, first of all, welcome. It's a positive message. Second of all, it has the most important information for you to know about how you can shop the store in bigger font, and it's at the very top, and it's very simple. They did not bury the headline. And then from that, if you're interested, here's what we're doing. So they led with the most important thing first. Welcome, here's what you can do, and here's what we've done for you. This is a grocery store, and if you have an opportunity to brand it, like we're showing here with JP General, all the greater experience of being welcomed into your environment versus kind of a generic environment. Both are fine. One feels a little bit more Main Streety, that we like to say, in terms of here's an experience versus just a function. Just like thank you and welcome, this could be something that says it's really great to see you. Welcome back. Maybe there's even something inside the store a little bit further, or there's a message in the window. It's kind of a grand reopening. We're all kind of coming back out again. So acknowledge that, and big open arms. This is something that the concept in terms of access versus excess, and a lot of the articles that we read online talk about retailers might need to reset their store. They're just going to have to re-merchandise. Well, what does that mean exactly? So what we've done here is we've mocked up a store to show a before and after conceptually. And the big picture idea behind this is we want you to create islands versus aisles. The issue and the difficulty we have with aisles, you see at the grocery store, is that when people pass each other, they collapse that 6-foot distancing that is desired. If you don't want to pass somebody and you need to maintain the distance, you're going to either have to wait for them to finish going down that aisle and then you can go. It just creates these awkward moments and pain points. If you had alternative paths, now grocery stores are not going to be able to reset their aisles. That said, they're managing that by trying to encourage one-way traffic just to keep the flow going. But a smaller, more nimble retailer could look at ways to create islands. And what we did here in this example is to take this. There are 16 fixtures. Those little gray squares are different. You know, maybe it's something on the wall or freestanding. Those represent the fixtures. The CW represents, I forget, I have a pointer. I'm sitting here using my finger like you guys can see that. Actually, check this out, see if I can do it. All right, so this is the cash wrap here. And what we did is saying, all right, so we've lost one fixture out of this entire reset, because what we did is we brought the buy online, pick up in store to the front. One is more convenient for the staff. So those that come in, we can hand it over immediately, or for those at the curbside, they can grab it and walk outdoors. And then 2, it also showcases the fact that you are participating in buy online, pick up in store. You're accommodating their new fulfillment habits. And so you've got to be a little bit theatrical about it as well, and let's showcase and make sure it looks good and it's convenient for your staff. So we've lost a fixture over here, and we've added buy online, pick up in store over there. And taking these gray squares, what we've done is if somebody walks in and say you're shopping, if I'm going to be shopping here, somebody else can end up, you can still be self-guided and you can kind of come around this way. Whereas on the left, there were going to be moments where you're going to have to pass one another, even though you might pull off to the right or to the left. Over here on the right, I'm kind of using this fixture as kind of a shield as I move around. And so the concept is to always be thinking about, is there a way that I can create an island for my customers to continue shopping and avoid one another and still see all my merchandise, versus getting stuck in a dead end down here. And just give me some options as a shopper. So that's the big concept, is islands versus aisles. If you have the ability to move some things. And with that, casters are your best friend. Eventually, you could start converting and adding things and thinking about the mobility of your fixtures and or future purchases, thinking about how can you make your life easier for resetting. When I used to have to go reset stores and it was just me, myself, and I bought a lot of casters. I can only push so much weight. Let me close that and see if I can advance here. Let me go back. And I just want to clear my annotations. I found a fancy new tool, so I had to play with it just to show you guys that. So this concept here is taking that set of islands that we created and superimposing these dots. And we'd like retailers to think about how you can do this literally by showing people, instead of just telling them on a sign that says, I want you to stand 6 feet apart. And it's just, you don't have a sense of what 6 feet really is. And by putting markers on the floor throughout the store, not just for line queuing, stand here, wait here until it's your turn to be checked out, people could constantly look at those dots or X's, or at Tickled Pink, you can have your pink flowers on the ground. I know you've already got some big ones right now, but everybody can think about how best to do this, is that I can physically see if somebody is stepping off their lily pad and coming towards me, I'm going to kind of move away. And it gives us a physical reference point of how people can move throughout the space. So we think it'd be fun to see stores sprinkle this throughout. And if somebody's checking out at the cash wrap, I've got a number of other dots that I could stand on and maintain that distance. without having to think, oh, which way does the line form? I just choose any of these and you'll be just fine. So we're showing them versus telling them where they can stand. This was a photo that I took at a coffee shop early April when we were all just figuring out what 6 feet looked like. And they did that in their store where they put blue X's 6 feet all throughout the space. So when you were standing waiting for your coffee, you were safe on any of those dots throughout there, or X's, I should say. Anne Marie, is there anything in that?
No, regard? I think you're getting into shopper behavior, and I think you're right on.
Okay, so with that, merchandising, because we are refraining from touching, we're not prohibited from it, but I know we're being encouraged not to touch. This particular retailer, one, they put up a sign, and two, they turned around the backside of a can so I could still read what was it, what the ingredients were, or what the calories were, or what have you. So they merchandised one facing forward and one facing back, and I thought that was a clever way to accommodate my need to see it without me having to pick it up. Another thing that we can do to accommodate shopping, and if somebody's still afraid to pick it up, is you can bring the price forward and some information. Maybe, I think it's a heavy lift to ask us to price every single thing, but this is a great example of what you could convert to a price for each of the products that are on that shelf and provide a little bit of information. Think about the size of the font. I'm not going to be able to pick it up. I'm not going to want to pick it up to read it. What was the handy scale? Take the age of your age and divide by 2. Divide by 2 in terms of the font size. So your oldest customer is 80 years old. You should be using a 40-point font to list your prices and information in. So this is the getting past the, the look, touch, and try. We're not necessarily able to do that, but we can get to the price and we can bring the price forward. So that's going to accommodate, that's going to be part of the merchandising. And then also finding out what your core profit centers are. And we can increase, in the past we maintain inventory density by sometimes we'll set selections behind one another. So here's a style and then there are the colorways behind it, or here's a scent and then there's other scents behind it. There might be cases where you have to take up more room because I can't go through your merchandise and you're going to have to front face more things. That means that you're going to start to use it more, your real estate inside. By necessity, you run out of space. So there are probably going to be some things that you need to cull. But this is what we mean in some instances by when they say you might need to re-merchandise your store. You're just going to have to think, what are your profit centers and what is it that people need to see, and you need to bring those out until we've satisfied the need to, because if people are going to be trying on clothes, once you've tried it, are you going to go back and sanitize it all? Are you going to let it sit off the floor for 2 days? I mean, you can go through inventory pretty quick, letting people try things on and start touching things. So before your store looks bare because you had one good day of shopping, just think about how we can merchandise and still show what we've got. At the cash wrap, we like the idea, plexiglass sneeze guards. You can get them freestanding. We like them hanging. I think it's important to know that I'm waiting to take my first picture that somebody's put a Visa sticker on here, or a Post-it note, or a vendor decal. I'm going to go into the bike store and I'm going to have everything I'll take is like, no, it's not another surface to put signs on. It's just a sneeze guard. Don't do anything else with it. Just keep it clean. We like the idea of it hanging because then it doesn't interfere with product exchange underneath it. And it also prevents people from stacking things against a wall. It's just like putting a shelf in your house. People start using it. So just keep it above and allow for clear space underneath. And that is, those are some specifics about in the store in terms of resetting and merchandising, because those generic words, we're just trying to drill down and we'll say what that means is this in terms of the aisles, creating islands versus aisles, and understanding that we need to bring the prices out, and we've got to think about creating more face outs so people can see what the choices are in a very simplified version.
So just to reiterate a couple of things that she said and that we didn't say yet, but we want to say, at the front of the store, continue to allow shoppers to decompress. And remember, at the edge of that decompression zone is something called the point of recognition. And that is really where you need to begin your messaging. We also think that's we called it the decontamination station. I don't know what it's called. The hand sanitation, not decontamination.
Sanitation station.
Sanitation station. Signage is key because reading is going to be one of the huge shopper examination procedures. We strongly suggest that what you want the shopper to do, you do yourself. You lead by example. So you wear a mask, you don't touch things, etc. We suggest hand sanitizer, not just at the front of the store, but at multiple locations. We suggest that you keep people awake to the 6-foot distancing by placing the markers on the floor like Shawnette showed you. Specifically, make sure that you do definitely have it at the cash wrap because that's someplace you know people are going to be. Everything that you do can be imbued with your brand and your personality. There may be some re-merchandising. You may have to accommodate for that access versus excess. You may have to pull a fixture off. You may have to put some product in the back room so that it is, there is, not that you all have chaos, but so there is order to the chaos so that it is easier to shop. Create islands where you can versus aisles that lead to dead ends. Remember that you need to create a pickup space because you're probably doing buy online, pick up in store, or someplace to stage where your product that's going to the curbside is going to be. Remember that you need a space for that. And then I have again to remind you that thank you goes a long way and that diction is a must.
Thank you. Absolutely. And
as we've been talking to Mary and Josh and Heidi, there are a million things have come up and there are so many things that we haven't addressed. We would love to take questions and we'll do our best.
So we do have one question here from Linda. Do you think disposable masks versus reusable masks make a visual difference? What about theme fabric, especially if it fits the theme of the store or restaurant?
I think that's a great way to brand. I think themed, I think those are great ideas. I don't know about the disposable versus the cloth. Is that what you're talking about? I'm not sure what message that sends to people. I think the cloth mask shows a little bit more commitment, maybe.
Okay, are there other questions? Oh, wait, there is one. Robin is asking, I'd love to know what other communities have done in terms of allowing stores to sell inventory outside and for restaurants to have tables outside. And I know that Anne-Marie and Shawnette have been doing a lot of research on that, actually.
Yeah. Quite a number of cities and districts are relaxing their policies and expediting the a right-of-way permit and waiving fees for use of parking spaces, and even not even charging for parking at all, understanding that this outdoor environment is our lifeblood because that space is where we feel comfortable conducting commerce. And the outdoor dining approaches have been where you have individual stores that could create a parklet immediately outside. That adds a certain amount of capacity, but not a whole lot. Once you start setting up tables within a 6-foot distance from one another, and actually even just a little bit more than 6 foot to accommodate for somebody walking to their, it's more like 8 feet by the time you get them down and people are have taken their seat. In Vancouver, what we're doing is we're actually grouping a set of parking stalls together and creating a zone where you can pick up your food at the restaurant and come sit and eat it. Restaurants aren't providing table service because they don't have the staff and it would be confusing in that shared eating zone, but we're accommodating for the immediate consumption within the district. It brings some life back to the district. It's some activity to the street. Other districts are closing down their streets, and they're different time frames. It might be a Tuesday and a Thursday, and it's scheduled, and it's not closing the street down for a festival. It is just a regularly scheduled outdoor commerce. And the larger zones like that, you could look at an area for dining. You could look at an area for outdoor shopping. And you could also even look at an area for a hosted concierge pickup, where the retailers could all bring their to-go buy online, pick up in store, and you could just drive by. Since you can't drive to the storefront, all right, you can drive up to this zone to pick up your package. So it's a way to invite safe activity for everybody to come out on these scheduled Tuesdays, Thursdays, or maybe it's a weekend. You've got farmers, you have a number of things that you need to work around, but there are a couple different ways to approach it depending on the space that you have, the mix of retailers that you have, and the policy and politics of the area that you may or may not have access to with the public space. We just saw an article today. Mary shared that from Leavenworth. There's some articles in the Columbian about what the city of Vancouver is doing. I think it was 3 weeks ago, I remember reading a thing about a little town in Lithuania that was closing a bunch of their streets for outdoor dining, and they were letting restaurants lease a certain amount of square footage, and they were providing table service, and that was their area to man. Some restaurants have not wanted to participate yet because they did not have the staff to manage running outside for table service. And I think right now it's not realistic to think about table service, but we just want to provide capacity for seating outside.
Okay, and then kind of a follow-up with that. Have you seen where cities are changing parking spots in front of the stores to allow for drive up and pick up?
Yes. And that's back to the curbside. They are foregoing the use of that as a long-term parking, the hour or the 2 hour. And right now the demand isn't there for the parking. So meanwhile, they're kind of repurposing that space and saying it's more useful right now to the consumers than it is to, because we don't have people parking and spending lengthy time. Back to that, everybody's on a mission right now. So they're not losing revenue that's not there. Because people aren't using it. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I couldn't figure out the chat.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I tried. It's my first time ever doing a Zoom meeting. I sell food products, so I've had to really adjust the way I do my business in a lot of ways. So today I actually put together a video about how things were going to change in the business and posted it on Instagram and Facebook to let people know what to expect when they come into the store, what I'm going to look like with my mask on, I already have the floor stickers down, so those are available.
That's so smart. That's so good. Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't saying it for that. My biggest concern for my business, because of sanitation, it's always been an issue. Because it's food, so I've always been hyper vigilant about the sanitation, is the PPE. So right now, PPE is already really hard to get, and that's with all the businesses closed. As we are going into this next phase where all the businesses are going to be open, I go out to try to find PPE, and like you can only buy one hand. Like I went to Target, I could only buy one bottle of hand sanitizer, which was like a 2-ounce bottle. And obviously that's not going to cut it. And then there are no gloves. There are no paper masks. I've also made, I did go ahead and make face shields, because there's times when I have to get close to a person. They need help in answering a question. So I did make myself and my staff face shields to wear in case, and we'll have our initials on them. So we'll all have our own, and there's a certain protocol for sanitizing every time you take it off. That allows us to be able to get closer to that 6-foot distance if we have to. or if somebody needs special accommodations. But I'm still concerned about where all this PPE is going to come from and how we're going to maintain it moving forward. And I don't know if I'm sure this is an issue that's come up in other areas, and if you know of anything, or if
I don't have a guy that you could call. I wish I did. And just say, you'll get him, hook him up for you. But I do think that there is, okay, y'all are the states. Everybody I see on this screen are the states, and Mary and the city could be the leaders in, that maybe that's an opportunity to say, hey, everybody here has to get PPP. Could we find a single point to help go out and secure the PPE? I hate to, I'm not trying to, sorry, Mary.
Sorry, Mary.
It's like I'm just volunteered Mary.
Not a problem. That's why we're here.
But that is actually, yeah, I made a list of things in terms of where are there opportunities for city and district support to the retailers individually, and what are those common areas that everybody's going to be needing, but the curbside pickup zones, access to outdoor, the public space, the seating or the merchandising outside, sanitizing stations, gloves, masks, all of those things. And if everybody needs it, how about if you pool the resources and go out and negotiate and try to get, who knows, maybe there's even a special color glove for Gig Harbor. And everybody, you're in Gig Harbor when you see the red gloves or the pink gloves or what have you, but it is a need. While everybody can be customizing their masks, that those consumables with the gloves and whatnot, even trash cans in the dining areas, who's going to man those, and how could we manage safe disposal and keeping the eating areas sanitary in between transition between the diners that are sitting out there? What are the types of materials that we're using for that? But I don't have a place to go to buy it, but I was just thinking about the process of trying to leverage, you guys have so much in terms of a restaurant, you've got so many things you have to manage that could be a big lift to help you and say, somebody else is working on that for you. I'm not saying Mary's not busy, or Josh or Heidi or anything like that either. So, but it is a point. Yeah. How could we combine our resources, and instead of everybody taking a half hour, maybe one person somewhere could spend 2 hours tracking that kind of thing down and getting it in the volume that we need. And there's even other districts that have talked about providing other points of support, even having legal on staff to help business owners understand terms of their leases, or the language and their rights within asking people to wear a mask, or how you can, if somebody's not wearing a mask, do you need to create an appointment only? Just, everybody seems to have a lot of the same questions. It's like, what, let's just get somebody. We'll hire somebody, and this is our go-to person to get those questions answered. When does that answer your question? Because I wanted to bring up another topic that we just thought about.
I have another question too.
Okay, let's get that question first. I've got the other one written down.
Okay, I can read the question, but I don't have a big solution. I have a compromised immune system. I'm not sure I understand this. I don't offer retail. How can I remain friendly and welcoming but still distant?
That was my question.
Hi.
Hi, thank you guys so much. I have a little interior design studio in Gig Harbor, and I actually stayed home for 5 weeks. I'm the only person here. It's a very small studio. It's 162 square feet. And I do sell a lot of product, but people don't come in to buy a candle. But the reason that I stayed home is because people continuously try to open my door to say hi. Maybe it's a client, or, so now I keep my door locked, and I want to be friendly to the community, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm promoting virtual design, and I'm doing remote services, and I haven't stopped working at all, but I want to be friendly, but I can't have people in my space because it's not safe for me.
Right. Oh, I think fun with signage is going to be your best friend. Number one, good for you for already going out there on Instagram and putting your message, putting yourself out there. What a dilemma. I mean, it's such a catch-22. It's awesome that they want to say hi.
Yeah.
That just bodes so well, but you know, what a catch-22. So I think, I don't know, maybe TMI, but I might, in one place at your point at your business, I might write in a parenthetical, FYI, I am, you know, compromised, and then let the rest of your signage have a little bit of overcompensate with some fun and personality.
Yeah, but I'd appreciate your support and understanding in helping me stay healthy.
Sure.
Yeah. What, do you have a solid door or a glass door?
It's all glass.
All glass. So they can see you in there, so that they're just kind of tugging on it.
Like, I mean, I'm in the harbor because I want people to see me. It's kind of like my marketing, and a lot of people know me, and that's wonderful. But it is, right now, it's really challenging.
Yeah.
I'm right next to Coffee Pink.
Yeah. I'm glad you can lock the door and your lights are on, you're open. And it is just a matter of getting the word out. People, I think they, if they knew, then I don't think that they'd put you at harm. There's just enough people that don't know yet, not to put you at risk.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we have a couple other comments on here I'm going to share. Linda, I think that's Linda Glenn, notifying us there are local individuals who make masks to sell. So those would be fabric ones, and they could certainly be somewhat themed. We've talked about getting some with anchors or something on it, or for the farmer's market, get vegetables or something like that. And then Stacy added that she orders PPE for healthcare workers.
That could be handy.
So, I don't, am I unmuted?
No, you're unmuted. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
Hi. So for those who don't know, I'm a nurse and I work in healthcare as well. And I manage physician practices. And so PPE is a shortage across the board. I can't even get gloves for the physician practices. They're being rationed in a way that doesn't make a lot of sense. But for retail, your best bet is going to be Costco Business. And the Costco Business in Fife, or you place an order at Costco Business for gloves and wipes and hand sanitizer. You can also check Quill, Quill, and you can set up an account with Quill. Now, all of these places run out on a regular basis. I went to order wipes today for one of my clinics and was able to put the item in the cart, and by the time I checked out, it was sold out.
Wow.
So it happens every week. So every week I go to all of the websites and try to order supplies. And I can usually get them from one of them at least once a week. So, but Costco Business and Quill, the other ones are all
Quill or
medical
Quell?
supply companies. It's Quill.
Sorry.
And it's a office supply company. You can also check Office Depot to order supplies, but your best bet is to try to order from a company. So if you think about it, every Thursday, I've been tracking it, every Thursday, the Gig Harbor Costco has a delivery of Clorox wipes. So they get them on a regular basis, but what you have to do is get in line to get some. And even at the medical supply companies, you're limited to one or two at the medical supply companies. So your best bet is to get in line for an order, such as Costco Business.
Great information. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah.
So I want to point out too that the Downtown Waterfront Alliance is working on a kind of a campaign for reopening called Gig Harbor Safe Harbor, and it is our intent to help the businesses by purchasing some of the hand sanitizer that people are going to be needing. So we'll be getting that information to you very soon. There'll be some signage that we're creating, and we'll be providing that to all the businesses as well. So stay tuned on that.
Mhm.
Yay.
And this is as new to us as it is to you guys, and you guys know retail as well. So it would be awesome if, as you think of more questions or as you answer your own questions, we would love to hear. We would love an email. You can either just contact us directly or you can let Mary know.
Mhm.
We want to know what you're doing. We want to know how the clothing stores are going to deal with returns and fitting rooms. And we want to know what's happening out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple ideas.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Dolly Mama's making customized masks, and we can't even keep them in stock. We're doing crystals on them. And so they're really fun, and they're made in the USA. And so we're going to start doing logos for people as well. So if anybody wants them for their store, we can do that. As far as hand sanitizer, I've bought a ton online at Heritage.
Yeah.
Because if you can only buy 1 or 2 bottles if you go in, but you can buy as much as you want. If you say you're buying it for a business, you can buy like big giant things of it even.
Yeah, they're selling it in bulk.
Yeah.
For
And then I'm just buying like glass fun bottles, and we're going to put our logo on the outside or something fun, and then have them all over the place.
We had hoped to be able to procure some hand sanitizer stations, dispensers, like freestanding, and you can't get them anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been looking for some time.
Yeah.
But we'll get the hand sanitizer. We'll get that piece of it at least.
That.
Cool.
What, I have a question. Return policies
Yeah.
right now. How are the
That's
retailers?
tough.
Yeah. Is it generous right now? Is it the Nordstrom's model just gonna cost of that transaction versus the lifetime cost of the customer or value of the customer? Or is it just, you don't feel it, staff doesn't feel it safe? How are you guys handling that?
We've always been Nordstrom policy, so it's just the way it is.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll have to put it in the back for a couple of days or have it dry cleaned or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Steam it.
Yeah.
And I've heard the steaming on some of the webinars I've been on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Easy.
Bye, Katie. Somewhere in there. I saw a chat. I finally saw. I figured out where to look down there. One thing that is something that Vancouver is talking about, and also some other districts in California that we're working with, is figuring out how to create a cooperative delivery. We're looking at cooperative commerce areas by closing down a street on a regular basis so that people can plan. They don't need to mob it because it's one time, but it's like, I can calmly plan, I'm going to go down there Tuesday, or I'm going to go down Thursday and do my shopping and look around or call ahead and pick it up. But there are some districts that are looking at how they can create a cooperative delivery within a very defined geography, say like a 5-mile circle or a 10-mile circle. On the one hand, yes, you could deliver it yourself. You could call it Uber or a Lyft driver and put your product and send it off down there. But as opposed to one retailer doing that 1 or 2 times, we were talking with them about how to contract with somebody that represents the downtown and becomes the delivery service within that area, and the retailers give this person on a schedule Tuesday at noon every day. They get your orders from yesterday, and Tuesday the next day at noon they go around and they deliver them. And that could be a way for the retailers in a district to participate in this new fulfillment practice in a branded way. Vancouver has this little electric car called Ride. It's green, and it just looks like a little pickle going by. And it was bought by an architecture firm that has a pretty big staff and no parking. So people park everywhere all over downtown, and this little pickle, they text it or call them, and it goes and picks them up and brings them to the office. And when they need to go back, or if they need to go out for lunch, they'll drive them wherever they need to go. So it's this little taxi service. But since everybody's working from home right now, we're talking with them about having this little pickle become the delivery vehicle for all the downtown retailers, because he needs to get eyeballs in front of the sponsors that are on the side of this little pickle. So we're right in the middle of having that conversation to see how we can be flexible and creative and facilitate getting product from being even more convenient than buy online, pick up in store. Buy online, we'll bring it to your house. We'll put it on your porch. And we'll, toot the horn on the way out. So anyway, that was just something that's under discussion. I'm not saying, somebody's driving the trolley around there, but
Josh,
it's fun to think about. Every community is kind of having their own fun and problem solving with it. We saw a video of a retailer that really loves their RC car. They put a bucket on the RC car and they put the product in the bucket, and then they just drove the car across the parking lot to the person, and the person got it out of the bucket. So I think somebody just wanted to drive their RC car. But
That's great.
yeah.
Are there any other questions?
thank you guys for hanging in there with us.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, great information. Oh, I see. Linda is showing us the fabric for masks for the market, Heidi.
Fruit masks.
Fruit.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah.
You're muted.
There we go. I'm looking for her.
Right.
I don't
I
see
thought I'd
Linda.
flash it.
Oh, let me see it again, Linda. I'm sorry. Hold it up. Oh my gosh.
Cute.
That would be
That's right.
amazing.
But I haven't, and I don't have any particular use for it. I considered cutting it up from mass and didn't want to. So if you want it, let me know.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
It's the nature of retail is reinvention, and we are having to triple fast forward. Warp speed, Scotty,
Yes.
on our retail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be entering phase 2 before too long, and we can start to see some more activity downtown.
Yeah.
I hope you've all gotten some good ideas today.
Very much so.
This has been recorded, so it will be available, and you can share it with your other retailers or neighbors.
Yay.
Guys, so much. Really
Shawnette or
appreciate it.
Anne-Marie, do you have any final things you want to emphasize?
A big
You're all
thank
good?
you to you guys.
Thank you. It was
Well, thank you all for coming. We will continue to have sessions via Zoom, so I'll get information out when we get the next one planned.
And thanks
Awesome.
for letting us be part of the group. And as we find resources, there's certain people that I follow that are thought leaders for retail. I really look forward to hearing what they have to say about big events like this, big and small. So if you're, it's okay to post that sort of thing. And when we find articles, because we're trying to soak up as much information as possible and distill it and say, this is all big picture stuff. What does it mean for retail? And I think that group that you have, Mary, is fantastic as an exchange for the most current information. So
And
thanks for letting us be part
to
of that.
any of the downtown businesses, we do have a closed Facebook group. If you haven't joined it, please do. Shawnette and Anne-Marie are on there, so they can share those ideas with you. Couple last questions, actually. Oh, I lost Marlene's comment. Marlene said if you get her a trailer, she will do deliveries on her bike. So there you go. But she does have a question. Oops, where did it go? Retailers, what are your thoughts about using sidewalks and parking spaces? To the retailers that are on here that are all muted.
Using sidewalks for what?
Unmute.
For selling, to take your store outside.
I would do that. I'd use my
I don't have a sidewalk conducive to that.
You have a courtyard.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carrie.
Well, I have the
Oh, she has a
outside, yes.
corner.
That's in front of my front door, but the rest of the building slopes down to the sidewalk, so it's too uneven.
So then how do we make sure then everyone's touching it though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I wonder. You can't really police it as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I love it, but
People like to touch things.
They
that's
do.
our problem.
It's a hard habit to break.
Oh,
Yeah.
the farmer's market, every single stall said, let us assist you. And you see somebody going like that, you don't want to slap it away.
You see us, well, there were signs that said, please use your eyes and not your hands. And I thought, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
That's a mandated practice at the Washington State farmers markets. No touchy.
Can I tell you what I saw yesterday at the grocery store?
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There was a guy next to me and his card wouldn't work in the machine. So the checker says, the guy says, is the machine broken? And the checker says, well, I think it's your chips that on your card that's not working. Let me see your card. So the guy gives him his card. The checker takes the card and he goes and rubs the chip and then licks his finger again and rubs it again.
Oh, no.
Does it some more, gives the card back to the guy and says, try it now. And the guy did.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
There are so many hard habits to break. So that reminds me, do you know those little, say you had to process 1,000 envelopes and they have the little tiny discs with that.
Oh,
Yes.
Maybe that, make sure everybody has those, because if you're trying to get a bag out or something and somebody doesn't go to lay it on there.
It's the tissue paper.
And
Yes.
tissue paper, even, like when you go to the get donuts or something and you take out the one little tissue paper to reach in. So maybe there's a restaurant supply that can offer that. If somebody needs to do the pin pad, you could see a rabbit.
No, just get a sponge and get it a little wet.
Oh, to constantly touch. You can hit some.
If you can.
There's that.
I know.
What about the touchless
hand
pay?
sanitizer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it with hand sanitizer.
Oh, there you go. So Marlene has a comment here about the Tacoma Farmers Market. They used a lot of saran wrap on the tents so people can see but not touch the produce.
oh,
What a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like that, the bee vendor or the honey vendor that I sent a picture of, they put their banner at the edge of the tent and had that table sitting just out of arm's reach so that you'd have to fall over the banner as you reached into it, just to give that distance in there.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, just to take it out of arm's reach. Touchless pay, how prevalent is that with Apple Pay, Samsung Pay? What do you see for, do you guys have all that technology in your store and people are adopting, or do you need to still do that?
We have it, but I don't find that many people actually utilize it.
yeah, I agree.
Very, very few. But what I do have is a separate processor from my stand. So what I have people do is insert their card themselves, and I never touch it. And then I sanitize it after they're done. And then instead of having anybody sign, I just put COVID on the receipt and let them know that's what I'm doing, and then offer either an email or a text receipt. And if they absolutely have to have it, I'll print the receipt and I have them take the receipt themselves rather than me touching it. So there's no point of contact between them and I. And I also sanitize before I touch their bag or touch anything of theirs. I sanitize before and I sanitize after so that there's no cross-contamination.
Yeah, it's the choreography that we have to do for this is
And some of it is just theatrics, but for you selling food, it's a necessity.
Yeah,
it is. And then the other challenge that not everyone maybe has experienced yet because they're not open, is that there's a lot of controversy about the virus, political controversy. And so there's a lot of people that refuse to accept that the virus even exists, or that it's deadly, or that they think it's all ridiculous. And so they get very irate about wearing a mask. or having to do any kind of sanitation. So that has been a very slippery slope to navigate. And, we all have our strong opinions about it. And it's important that we not voice those opinions too strongly to our customers, because we don't know why their opinions are the way they are, for what reason. But it does make it challenging when you're trying to keep yourself and your staff and your customers safe, and then you have customers coming in that don't practice that and don't have masks. They don't want to sanitize. They just want to live their life like it is, and they don't care. So that's not the majority, but I would say you're looking at about 30% of people that are in that category of either just being fed up with the virus and like, we've been doing this long enough, I don't want to deal with it anymore.
Right.
So they've just given up. So that's another level of challenge that I've had to experience anyway in the last couple months. And in the beginning, people were a lot more compliant. Now the sun is out and it's getting warmer. You can just see it in the streets. People aren't wearing masks. They're gathering together. And it's something that it'll make us as business owners having to navigate that a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, and I think it's really important working with your staff to make sure that it is a unified front. So how do we deal with the guy who refuses to put on a mask? Do we still let him in the store? How do we deal with that? I think it's really important to have those hypotheticals with your staff.
And I think that's very challenging, because if all of downtown isn't on, like if all the businesses in an area aren't on the same page about it, like if I say you have to have a mask to enter my store, but then 2 stores over, they don't care, or 3 stores, maybe half the stores care and half the stores don't, then you're alienating your customers. And that's business, right? I mean, in this era that we're in right now with this virus, every penny counts, because even as we open, we're not going to go back to where we were before, not right away.
Right.
It's important that we get as much income in as we can. So I think it's vital as a community of business owners that we all get together and stay on, come up with a protocol of what the expectation is going to be and how we're going to answer those questions uniformly, so that we're all doing the same thing, rather than everybody kind of just, navigating on their own for their business. So for me, that's my biggest concern, is just how do you navigate that in a safe way?
So Marlene had a comment on that. She says customers are guests in the stores. Whether they agree or not, they should comply with the rules of the store. And people who work in the stores need to carefully use their conflict navigation skills to resolve these challenges diplomatically.
Yeah.
And she also says, and I love this, she says it would be nice to have Main Street bring the happiness back. That's our goal.
Yeah. I just sprinkle it like fairy dust everywhere.
That's it.
But I think in terms of it's easy to say conflict navigation skills, and then to literally go through the hypotheticals and say, so what are your options? If somebody says, I don't want to wear a mask, did you forget your mask? You can have one of ours. It ranges from, can I do the shopping for you instead? We do require masks in the store. May I do the shopping for you? And try to help them accomplish their mission, but still comply with the safety guidelines that are required of you, and that you want to acknowledge to keep your staff, and to have the staff practice those varying degrees of, may I offer you a mask? May I do the shopping for you? May I ask you to come back when you have a mask? All the way up to, are you all going to agree to just ignore it and anybody can do everything? But to know where those spots are, and then they say, what do you say if? And then the next thing happens. And then at some point, if there is zero compliance, who is the next best higher authority in the store that might be able to enforce it? I don't want to have to call the police, and you don't want the news out there. But just to give them some scripts to say, to give that person the benefit of the doubt without challenging their belief or not, but just say, since we do require masks, how can I help you since I have to adhere to this? And here's the things that I have in my basket to help you. But preparing the staff for that, and then also as a district, I think that's well said, that everybody needs to be on the same page, so they don't say, well, so-and-so lets me just come in and go out. So good conversation to have. Difficult, but good.
So are there any other questions?
Thank you for sharing that, Wendy.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, we've gone an hour and a half. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I think there was some good discussion. We are going to have more sessions like this, so we'll make sure you guys all are informed. Josh or Heidi, do you have anything you want to add before we close for the evening?
Great to see everybody.
It is wonderful to see everybody.
The market opens in 1 month, so
Yay.
hopefully we'll be bringing some people downtown.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll keep sending out the information as we get it. The governor was on today. I don't know if you all saw him or not, but he did not indicate whether or not June 1st would be phase 2. He said they'll be evaluating that as they a few days going into June 1st. So we'll all cross our fingers on that
Yes.
the numbers will allow that to happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let us know if you have any questions about tonight. Like I said, Shawnette and Anne-Marie came into our Facebook group, so they will be there, and
We'll keep an eye on
through that. Yep, she'll keep an eye on us. And we actually will be attending a conference online this week that may have some ideas that we can share with you there too.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. There's good. There's more information, the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, you all look great. Everybody's weathering it well.
So crazy.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Anne-Marie and Shawnette so much. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to try to gracefully leave and find the button.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Be
Bye.
safe.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.